Hi everybody. This is a video response to the video that Tommy from Off Grid Nation did when the balloon went up, and I thought it was good. I thought it was, very thought-provoking, right? What are we gonna do, right? So, the question he asked for the response was, "What are you gonna do?" What am I gonna do? Or what's anybody going to do? What's your plan? So really made me think because been prepping for a couple of years, going on a couple of years, and a month or so ago, as plan-wise, I was in a lot better shape than I am now. I had an off-grid cabin up in the hills in Vermont. It was a couple hours north of here where I live, and kind of had a plan to go there, if something happened. Things have been changing. We're in a state of flux. My wife and I purchased a place in Virginia, very southern Virginia, near the North Carolina border, and it needs some renovation. It's a couple acres. We're going to make a homestead down there when we retire. A little while still yet to go. Enough time, hopefully, to do the renovations, do what we got to do. I got the house gutted, so it's not ideal if we had to go there, but it's in a very rural area and not a lot of population. We got a couple acres where we can do gardening and whatnot, and so have some animals. Now, of course, that's a little difficult because we can't set any of that stuff up until we move there, because it's a 10-hour drive, 10 and a half hour drive from here. So what happens in an SHTF situation? So it depends really what form that takes. The scenario he put forth in his video was an economic collapse. So if it's if there's no EMP attack or no martial law declaration, then travel may not, at least at first, be restricted. I guess that would be our plan. It would be to pack everything we could and head down there. Now, if that takes another form, again, martial law, EMP, whatever, if we're not able to travel, then might as well be on the other side of the planet. So there's some challenges there, but I guess what my plan has to be now is to recalculate my plan, because with things changing, I sold Vermont January 20th. Sold the property in Vermont. We're working on the property in Virginia, and the house we live in here in Connecticut has to be put on the market, and that's going to happen in March. So everything's up in the air, because Connecticut's a tough place to try to sell a house. We're in probably middle class to lower middle class, which is probably in this state the worst demographic to be in. There's a lot of money in this state, so people that have money, they're gonna, of course, in an economic collapse that'll all change, but I'm talking current situation, they're doing good. If you're poor, you're being taken care of in this state too. So are we like the working poor? No, we're a little step above that. Only because my wife and I both have two jobs. So that's a whole other subject, so whatever. But so where we are now, we don't have a lot of money to prep. We have a small prepping budget. We've recently just reconfigured that plan, and we're putting that money into stuff we need to prepare Virginia. To build raised beds, to do fencing, to do, I want to build a rainwater catchment on the house. We got plans, stuff we want to do, and so that takes money too. And so plus at the same time we're renovating the house, so we're trying to have a budget for that, and then pay the mortgage and the mortgage here. And so this is all difficult, but once this house sells and there's a transition there and all that can happen. So I guess all that to just say, everything's up in the air, but we still have to have a plan. And this has all been happening in the last couple of months. I really hadn't embraced that in my mind. And seeing that video that Tommy did this morning, really, I thought was good. It's thought provoking. It like was like a slap in the face. It made me think like, yeah, dude, what is your plan? We have a broad plan. We have a plan for, a few years down the road, right? But what happens if this event happens today or tomorrow? So then, okay, so ideally, we would hop in our car and go to Virginia, and that would be our plan. That's kind of like plan A, I guess, if we can do that, if travel's available. If not, our backup is we have a guy that's in our parking group here that lives in a town like 8 miles away, and he's a little more outlying area. He's got some neighbors that they're not really a cohesive group, but he's working on, relationships there, and they're all pretty like-minded. A lot of veterans, a lot of, they're armed. I believe they're prepared to defend their neighborhood together. So our plan now is to, and we've talked extensively with him, and they've got a spot for us there. If something were to happen immediately, before we're ready to move south, we could go there. So then, community and building relationships is always the hardest part, and it's slow, right? But so then, when we go to Virginia, that whole process starts all over because we don't know anybody down there. We don't have any friends or family down there. We're just moving there basically to flee this state and look for a place where, it's reasonably affordable to live, where we can retire. And so I guess, all this to say is we have several plans depending on what's going to happen. And so then, I've heard Tommy say it, I think he said it the other night in his live stream, if you didn't implement your bug out plan or your emergency plan when 9/11 happened, you're probably never gonna. So there's the whole thing about like recognizing those triggers and pulling the trigger on one of those triggers. Like if this thing happens, okay, so in the meantime, like we're not retired yet, right? We both have 2 jobs. Together we take care of a lady that has developmental disabilities. That's one of the jobs we do. And then we both have jobs, full-time jobs. I work second shift, she works first shift, and we do the personal care in between those. And for her it's 2 full-time jobs. For me it's 1 full-time job and 1 almost full-time job. So you recognize these triggers, these things that need to happen. Are we prepared to just walk away from our jobs? Which is basically what we would have to do if we wanted to pack up and go to Virginia. So you have that whole thing, like if you hesitate 2 days on doing that, then maybe you missed your window to travel 10 hours. And so we have to think about that too, right? Because on the other hand, if we pull the trigger prematurely and pack up and move, and then 3 weeks later everything's back to normal, or whatever, as close as we can get to normal. I don't think we're even at normal now, but as close as we could be, then are those jobs going to be there for us to return to? And the full-time jobs that we have, that's one thing. You can walk away from it and maybe it's not going to be there. And so you deal with that however you have to. The personal care job is a little different because we have this individual that, you can't just walk away from that. I mean, you can, but we wouldn't really be prepared to do that. We're transitioning that care into, by finding other people to take over. We've just gotten one to do some per diem hours, and we're trying to transition other people into that role so that when the time comes for us to leave, that lady will be well taken care of. And that's important to us. And so to just say, okay, today is the day, put the stuff in the car, let's go, that's going to be tough because of that. And even because of jobs. Even if you have a normal job, now it's a different level maybe, but you still got to think about it. Like I said, are we prepared to walk away from those jobs and the income streams that they provide, and then maybe realize shortly that was a mistake? Can you come back to it? Maybe you can't. Maybe not. Probably not. So it's all about like knowing when to pull that trigger. And I think like something like that scenario he put up with when the balloon went off, when the balloon went up or whatever, that financial type thing isn't something and I guess, let me say, for me it isn't, because I'm not that knowledgeable about the stock market and of financial well-being of the country and all that. And honestly, like, I think Tommy from Off-Grid Nation, like, seems like he's got a pretty good handle on it, and I'm almost embarrassed to say probably 90% of what I know about it just comes from listening to like his videos and other people that seem to know. So, you know, you listen and you glean information from this one and from that one, and you try, it seems like, you know, stuff that makes sense is probably true, and you try to get an idea. So just say all that to say that I really know nothing about it, but I think I have an idea where it's going. But is that an event where today is the day to back up, you know, for somebody like Tommy, or somebody who's in that world or comes from that world and has a working knowledge of that world, they may be able to look at these things, these stock market indicators, you know, what's going on with these large banks, whatever. They may be able to pinpoint that one day or that one event where they're, in their mind, they're seeing that trigger. You know, pack your car, like he said, pack the trailer and go down to Off-Grid Acres. For me, that's that's a 10.5 hour ride. So that doesn't mean I can't do it, but then you have to know when that event, you know, so like if an EMP goes off or martial law is declared, that's an event. That's something that you see, this has happened, okay, this is it, let's go. But then, you know, in those scenarios, travel is going to be very difficult, if not impossible. So in that case, the financial indicator thing, the financial collapse, might be an easier one to escape, but a harder one to recognize the timing of it, you know, when it is time to make that escape. And so those are all things we got to formulate too. So anyway, I thought that the video was very good. I thought it was thought-provoking. I mean, it smacked me in the side of the head, like made me think, yeah, you know, there's been so many changes in the past 2 months, and then back to, you know, 6-8 months ago when we purchased Virginia, that I need to start working on that. I need to start reformulating my plans. And so plan A is to, you know, take off to Virginia, 10.5 hour ride. And so again, all the problems and everything that comes with that, all the, you know, what ifs, can that happen, you know, that's all got to be hashed out in detail. Plan B is to go to, you know, my friends 8 miles north, and that isn't ideal either, but it's certainly better than here. And where we are here, this isn't going to be good. We're in a, you know, we're in a medium-sized city. We got 45,000-50,000 people. We're not really in the heart of the city, but I wouldn't say we're in a rural outskirt area either. We're in a, you know, suburban neighborhood, decent little neighborhood, but, you know, in perfect times. But the people that, you know, anybody that like could be looking to do harm or, you know, kill and steal for food, they're minutes walk away from here. So this isn't going to be the area. So I'm hoping and I'm praying that, you know, we're going to have the time to implement those transitions, and it doesn't happen overnight. We started it, you know, 6 months ago when we bought Virginia, and so it's going to take some time. You know, ideally it would be nice if it, you know, nothing happened until we were just ready to retire and go down there and the house was all renovated and move in and you got a brand new kitchen and all this other stuff, right? Now we don't have a huge budget for that either, so we're trying to do that out of, you know, budget for that out of our income streams. And when we pull the trigger on retirement, that's going to change severely too. So we would like to have 90% of that done. Now, in an emergency, if we had to go live there and it gutted out, the bathroom is still working, the kitchen is gutted, the rest of the house is gutted. I mean, I think living there like that would create challenges, but it would be better than living here in this scenario, in this environment. Down there, there's like 16,000 people in the entire county, or something like that. I don't know, it's under 20,000. So like, it's really, really rural. That's a tongue twister kind of, but it's a really, really rural area. But if we can make it there, that's number one, if we can make it there. Number two, if we're smart enough to know when to pull the trigger to load the car and go there. So plans do need to be solidified, and that's what we gotta, we gotta work on, and we are working on it. Again, I want to just, I don't want to keep being redundant, but going back to the community, right? Having a group, that's one of the toughest ones to do, to develop. And we've made a little headway with it here, but not a lot. It's very slow going. And then when that transition happens, we're basically starting all over again. So to me, like, I can't even wrap my mind around that, because I look at how hard it was here, growing up here and living here my whole life and knowing people and having relationships, just to, get people on board and network to the right people. And, it's been difficult. So how much more difficult will it be in an area where we know absolutely nobody? And so plans need to be made, and I guess going forward from this point, that's got to be one of the top priorities. It's got to be, and so it is, and we're just going to keep doing what we can do every day. We're going to try to do one thing, do what we can, come up with a new plan, and as comprehensive as we can make it in the time we have, and just hope and pray that we have the time that we need. And so I guess really in the end, kind of abstractly, that's really all any of us can do, right? So anyway, that's it. I thought, again, that video was awesome. It was thought-provoking. Yes, I'd like to see more on those series, if not, if not to really provide answers, but just to provide food for thought, just to provide something for me to think about, to look at different perspectives and different solutions possibly to problems, and then you try to filter all that in and see which ones will work better for your own scenario. So kudos, Tommy. Thanks for the video. Thanks for putting it up, and as always, thanks everybody for watching. God bless you.